Hello out there today, Joseph Tudisco, Just a Thought, continuing with Acting Like a Business Seminar, Session 8, Unions. I'm going to speak about unions today, SAG-AFTRA and equity. That's my, back there, that's Joey the cat. He's a camera hog, so don't mind him, he'll jump down and go elsewhere. Unions. We're going to talk about the unions today. SAG-AFTRA and equity. If I get a little shaking on the on the video, my cat Joey is sitting behind the monitor here, the camera, so he kind of shakes it a little bit. So that's not me. SAG-AFTRA, equity. SAG-AFTRA is film, TV, and equity is for theater, live theater, stage, and you can belong to one or both. Sometimes one will help you get into the other, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Let's talk about SAG-AFTRA. This is the union that protects us and negotiates for our collective bargaining agreement with network studios, etc. And you know, they pretty much negotiate all the details and how we get paid and insurance and all that other stuff. Used to be separate. SAG-AFTRA used to be separate. They just recently merged a few years ago. And everyone was saying, well, when are the changes coming? When are the changes coming? Well, unfortunately, the contracts that were in place separately for SAG and separately for AFTRA before the merger, pre-merger, are still in effect. I think they expire sometime in June this year, so they're going to be negotiating jointly. And what they've done by merging is hopefully, and I don't know how this is all going to work out, but hopefully they will have a stronger presence. And because what was happening is AFTRA started to undermine some of the SAG. I mean, these are stories. I don't know if it's true. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room. I don't know. But this is the story that SAG was undermining, AFTRA was undermining SAG contracts by allowing the producers to pay less, have less union background on sets, smaller contracts, blah, 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 vice versa. So there was a constant fight for getting the jurisdiction in that particular work. Okay, SAG was usually for film, and AFTRA was usually for taped. But with today's technology, they could slap on a filter on a taping session and make it look just like a film. So they were able to accomplish all these crossovers and conflicts, and it just went absolutely crazy. This was the third time I think they voted. I think it was the third time they voted on the merger, which passed. And I personally think it was good. I was having a lot of problems with the politics of both unions. AFTRA at one time was a join. You just pay your dues and you can join and get your AFTRA card. SAG was always you had to qualify by some of the details that I mentioned in the previous session with waivers and Taft-Hartley and all that. So now that they've joined, the just to join AFTRA, I think, has been abolished. You have to qualify by getting waivers, and you have to qualify by either getting a speaking role or a contract role. The other way you can get into SAG, AFTRA, and or equity is if you belong to one or the other, and you get a contract in that union within a year. After a year's time, you can automatically join what they would call the sister union, and you would be able to qualify in that manner. Benefits of SAG-AFTRA, insurance, health insurance. After you've earned a certain amount of money, you can qualify for a couple of different tiers of insurance. Credits, pension credits you can acquire for a calendar year. If you earn so much money, then you would be given a credit. After so many credits, you're vested, and so many other credits determines how you can collect a pension. Equity works the same way, pretty much so. However, a lot of their qualifying, especially for the health insurance, is based on amount of weeks worked under contract. SAG-AFTRA is the only really legitimate union that regulates the film and TV. When they merged, a lot of people were against it because they felt a lot of the AFTRA actors were going to come and take their jobs. I think some people still feel like that. But the way I understand it and my knowledge, I mean, right now there's 165,000 members in SAG-AFTRA. I think in one of the earlier sessions I said there was 200,000. I was wrong. It's about 160, 165,000. That's after the merger when they've merged together. But what I thought that people should have understood was that, you know, probably half of the people in AFTRA, the actors, had SAG cards anyway. I mean, I was carrying both cards, SAG and AFTRA. Another good percentage are radio personalities, you know, announcers. A lot of people were voiceover people, which SAG does have a voiceover contract also. So it wasn't that much of an infiltration of people going to steal our jobs. Handful, small percentage maybe, yes. But I think we get too paranoid as actors about the things that are going to affect our livelihood. And we should be concerned about it, but we shouldn't be paranoid about it. I think the merger was a good thing. We're going to find out this summer when they negotiate the new theatrical film TV contract. I think the commercial contract was either in negotiations or it's already been completed. So AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA, it's a necessary entity for us to give us some protection and some control over what we do. If you don't like the politics, then you got to get involved. Okay, you need to get on the committees. You need to voice your opinion, and you need to do that if that's what you want to do. The other thing I tell the members: vote. If you don't vote for new leadership or new proposals, and you just let it go, and then after the fact you complain, well, you don't have a right to complain. If you don't vote, you can't complain. Okay? And instead of being the problem and the disgruntled actor, try and be the solution, try and help out, see what you can do. And if it doesn't bother you, myself, I don't get involved with the politics. That's not what although in other things I have been involved in politics. I've been accused of being a Philadelphia lawyer at times. But that's not my interest. I'll step aside and let better minds prevail and try and, if I don't like it, I won't vote for them again. It's that simple. The contracts, SAG-AFTRA, there are several different levels of contracts. There's the feature film, which is the major network, the major motion picture film. Gives a lot of benefits to the actor. Then there's two low budget contracts, the SAG low budget and the modified low budget, and I always get them mixed up. I don't know if the low budget is the higher end or the modified is the higher end. You know, I think one pays around $500 per day scale, and the other one pays about $300 per day. The lower one, I think, allows them to use non-union background under the stipulations. Below that is the ultra low budget. It pays $100 a day. It's got some incidentals that will protect the actor on certain situations. These things were brought in because they wanted to give the actor a little bit more shot, and also they wanted to bring in more non-union projects that couldn't afford these higher budgeted projects. And the way you get the different contracts is the budget that the production company is putting into the project. You have to, if you go over a certain amount, you got to step up to the next contract. You got to step up to the next contract. So ultra low budget, it's a great way to get on film. It's a great way to get, capture some of your video or your film for your reels, to get experience, to have, as I said, credible credits. Well, here's where you can get them. Then you have the short film, which it doesn't have to pay you. It's deferred. Sometimes they do pay. Sometimes they'll have to pay expenses. And then, of course, there's the student film, which allows the student artist to have a waiver to hire union actors for their project, and usually there's no pay involved. You just get transportation. If you work on a student film as a non-union actor, you don't get eligibility. If you work on a ultra-low budget as a non-union actor, even if you're speaking, there's no eligibility from that. And the lower tier, low budget, I believe, I'm 99% sure, also will be no eligibility if you book a role as a non-union actor. Above that, I think you do get eligibility. As a matter of fact, I got my eligibility on the higher end of the low budget contract. That's where I got my SAG card. So yes, you can work on these projects. You can work on the feature. You can work on the low budgeted, being non-union. Absolutely. If they bring you in and they want to use you, they'll hire you. They'll Taft-Hartley you. Taft-Hartley is a law. It's a federal law. It really has nothing to do with SAG-AFTRA. It's just for any union industry that they can Taft-Hartley you in to work for that particular project or day or week or whatever it might be, and they would have to pay you under union contract rules and scale and monies. That will give you instant eligibility into the union. If you get a waiver, if your background, I did address background the previous session. You know, background, you need to get a certain amount of waivers if you're non-union to get in. Equity, AEA, Actors Equity Association, is for theater. It pretty much works the same way. I think if you book a job in equity, I think you need to join right away in order to do that job. There's so many contracts in equity, different tiers, you have Broadway, off-Broadway, and so forth all the way down. You have showcases which will allow small productions to put up a theatrical, I shouldn't say theatrical is really film and TV, a theater project, and use equity actors with no pay. They have to have a certain budget. They can only have so many performances, and they can only have so many seats in the house. So if you work on one of those showcases, equity showcases, and you're non-union, it's not going to give you eligibility. You have to get a contract. Let me just speak about these contracts also. A lot of people will say, when they're asking you that they're doing a show, and they'll say, well, I'm off Broadway. What is that? Anybody know what that is? You know, we want to say, oh yeah, it's not Broadway, it's not off-Broadway, but it's off-Broadway. Well, where is that? People think that that Broadway, off-Broadway, and off-Broadway are locations. It's not. They are type of contracts. You have your Broadway contract, and usually Broadway doesn't have to be, you know, in Times Square. Okay, you have your off-Broadway contract, which is usually a lower budgeted project. And they can be in any off-Broadway houses that are acceptable through equity. Off-Broadway, when people say that, to me, they're saying, well, it's a showcase. I'm not getting paid, but I don't want to call it a showcase, so it's off-Broadway. It's a showcase. Don't be embarrassed. It's what it is. I've done many of them. I had my theater where we ran, you know, equity showcases and that like. It's a great. They're great opportunities for you to get on stage and perform and act and harness your skills. So off Broadway to me means it's a showcase and you're not getting paid. But people don't want to say that. They think it's a downer, and it really don't. It's only a downer if you let it be a downer. So now, you know, should we join? Should we not join? Especially with SAG-AFTRA. There is no, at least a minuscule amount of non-union projects that can help you with your career. Okay? They don't get the exposure. They're not seen by a lot of people. The budgeting is low. That's why they're non-union. And I'm not saying they're not wonderful. Some of them are wonderful projects. You know, I've done non-union before I got in, and wonderful, but they don't go nowhere. They don't do nothing for you. When should you join SAG? When you have to. I know working non-union, you have more opportunities to make money. So if it's a money issue, okay, then continue to do your non-union work. If it's a promotion of your career, well, then you need to be in SAG, and you need to do the projects that are going to get exposure. Okay, now, being non-union doesn't mean you can't work again. I'm saying this, I'm repeating, it doesn't mean you can't work in a union project, but you're going to need to do so many before you have to join. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I got into SAG and I'm not working anymore. If it's really a money issue, then you can do what's called a financial core. And that's another federal law that allows you as a union member to withdraw from the union but still participate in the collective bargaining agreement because you've paid initiation money to get into the union, which is part of your contribution to setting up the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. You will still have to pay dues. You still can get your insurance and all that. But you are no longer a SAG member. It allows you to work on both ends. You can do non-union and you can do union. So if it's a matter of, and again, SAG and AFTRA will look down upon it. It's not a pleasant thing for them to acknowledge or encourage you to do. They don't want you to do it because then they lose membership, they lose voting power, and it kind of sabotages their collective bargaining agreements in the future, where they'll say, oh, look at how many people dropped out, what kind of a union you have. They're no members, they just want to take advantage of working and all that. But yes, that is the situation. But for some people, it's a necessary evil. I get that, I understand that. I certainly wouldn't belittle anyone for being a Phi Corps. But again, it has to be just for the money. It can't be because you think it's going to make your career. It will certainly not make your career. It's the union work, and there's just something that screams professional with those acronyms behind your name. SAG-AFTRA and AEA acronyms. That's the letters for the initials to make up the whole. Yeah, you know what I mean. So that's what the unions are all about. When you have to join. Don't force the issue. I mean, if you're doing background, of course you want to join because you're going to make more money, but you're going to have less work. And it's the same with if you're doing principal work in non-union projects, you're going to get less work in union projects once you join. You have to accept that and move forward with it. Don't let it make you crazy. Okay, so go out there, have a wonderful day. Put everything into focus, everything into work. Work your business every day. Remember, what have you done today? And this information is just given to you. Again, it's my opinion. Sometimes I'm wrong with things. I'll be the first to admit it, but I know what I know, and certainly you don't know what you don't know. And hopefully this will give you some more knowledge to pursue the career. And remember, any questions, feel free to shoot me a question over at Facebook page, Acting Like a Business. And of course, if you go to youtube.com, search Joseph Tudisco Acting Like a Business, it'll take you to my videos. You'll see a little channel icon. I'm wearing that black hat. Just click on that. It'll take you right to my channel with all the sessions in order. And I hope they've been helpful. And stay well. Have a great day. And that is a wrap.